You are listening to This is Oklahoma, hosted by Mike Hearn, telling stories of Oklahomans and those that have made it their home.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma. Mike Hearn here, host, back with another episode. Excited to share this episode with you today, but before we do, huge shout out to our sponsors. The Oklahoma Hall of Fame have been sharing Oklahoma's story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com. And for daily updates, go to oklahomahof on Instagram and give them a follow. Our other sponsor today is the Chickasaw Nation. Now, the Chickasaw Nation have sponsored pretty much everything in Oklahoma. They're a huge supporter of Oklahoma. And it's an honor to have their name and their brand supporting this podcast. So a huge shout out to Governor Anatobi for supporting this podcast. It really means a lot. Our third sponsor is Diffie Ford Lincoln down in El Reno. Now, this one makes me so happy because these guys are great friends of mine, play a lot of golf together. I've bought my cars from them, do most of my oil changes down there, have a cup of coffee, hang out down in El Reno. It's a good spot to go. And not only are they great friends, but they provide a great service. So for over 60 years, third generation family owned Oklahoma business down in El Reno. They're also in Bethany as well. So people in the Bethany area know the Diffies really well. But if you're looking for anything new, used, Ford, Lincoln, or whatever, I'm sure they could find anything you want. Check them out, diffieford.net, and then on Instagram at diffiefordlincoln. This episode is brought to you by the Doghouse OKC. Recently, I have been in need of some doggy daycare for my two pups, and the Doghouse have come in clutch. The team over there are incredible. They've taken care of my two golden doodles, and so it's been an honor to partner with them on the podcast and share the love. And the one thing that I do with the sponsors that I have is stuff that I use and recommend, like the Diffies with my car, Hall of Fame. They're awesome. Citizens Banks, where I bank. Chickasaw Nation, huge supporter of Oklahoma. And adding to that is the Doghouse. And so if you're in need of doggy daycare in the day or boarding overnight, they do grooming and other cool things too. But I've had a fantastic experience, and it's an honor and a privilege to share this with you too. So go to thedogHouseOKC.com and follow them on Instagram at thedogHouseOKC. And hopefully our pups will run into each other. Turn your dream home into a reality with Home Creations, a family-owned and operated builder with over 40 years of trusted experience right here in Oklahoma. Call Holly at 405-364-9999 to schedule a showing or visit our website for more details. Home Creations, building homes, shaping futures, strengthening communities. Before we get into today's episode, just a quick note for our people watching on YouTube or any of the video production. Gary mentioned before the podcast that he had some stitches in his face. And so if you see the video, you see the bandage, he's fine. And be assured he will be healed and ready to run the Redbud number 42. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma. Mike and here, host, back with another episode. We are in Oklahoma City today to talk about one of the longest standing local events in Oklahoma City, the Redbud Classic. You will know that name. You might have even competed in that name, but it gives me great pleasure to introduce two people to the podcast who are going to tell us a lot about this year's race weekend, this year's event weekend. You guys have raised a ton of money since it started, and again, the brand, a lot of people know Redbud and think of Redbud and think of running, cycling, all the stuff that goes on during the weekend. But it gives me great pleasure to introduce Gary Good and Kristen Hearsum to the podcast. Excited to dive into the story. Before we do, though, tell me a little bit about yourselves. How do we get to Oklahoma? What's your Oklahoma stories, and how does it tie into the Redbud?
Do you want to go first?
Well, you go first.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm from Oklahoma. I grew up southern Oklahoma, Lone Grove, Ardmore area. Made my way to Edmond for college. Stayed around here because I did not want to go back to small town. As most college kids do, go and change your major like 10,000 times. Like I went for music and wound up getting a recreation management degree. So landed me working for the YMCA for a while, kind of MAPS 4 or MAPS 3. Now it's 4. And then this just kind of fell in my lap here. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Music. What instruments do you play, and what leads you to want to pursue a career in music before you turn to rec management?
I actually grew up singing.
Okay.
And probably the one thing that did not keep me doing it is I cannot play an instrument to save my life. In college, I tried. I took piano classes, and as like freshman, that's a lot of dedication, and I enjoyed the social aspect of college. And I went through a lot of different things that I wanted to do in life, and I really enjoy sports and just events in general, and I think that's kind of what led me to recreation management.
Okay. What kind of music did you like to sing? Was it everything, or was it kind of country, or what was it?
A mixture of kind of everything. Church a lot is, I grew up Baptist, and that's what I did kind of initially. But then kind of theater, musical type things. And that's kind of where I started. And so more along the musical side of things, and not a lot of country. I love country music, but I never really performed on a stage.
Does the team
doing
here
country.
know that you can sing? Have you sang for the team? Any
No.
national anthems before the race yet? Before the event?
No, I mean, I have sang a lot of national anthems
Okay.
in my life, but I have not here. I don't
Sounds
think
like we
anybody
need
knows.
to tick that box. Sounds like we need to make that happen at some point.
I think so.
You're an employee. You're on the list. Now. I mean, it's sometimes accidentally people don't show up to sing their song, and you're gonna have to step in. You might as well
Maybe.
just get it out the way. I want to be there for that. That'd be great. That's awesome. And so you changed to rec management, and obviously it brings you to where you are today. What is your role here?
I am the executive director for the foundation, and then race director for the event.
Okay, busy.
Busy.
Gary, what about you?
Wow, it's interesting that this is starting off talking about music, because that's been my life. And your voice is an instrument, by the way, and yours is beautiful.
Oh.
So I'm sure that once you do this national anthem for the Redbud at some point, everybody's going to be really amazed. So my dad was a big band leader. My mother was the singer. I grew up. It was almost like Lucy and Ricky. And so I started playing music when I was a kid, and all through school, and wasn't planning on going into it as a business, but as things turned out, when I was going to college, I started playing drums and got in a band, started booking bands, and have never had to get a real job since. So music has been my life, and the Redbud is a really nice merge, from the music into running, because that's what I do with the Redbud. Besides run, I do the music. So, but that's about me, and this Redbud is really special. So I'm happy to be a part of it.
Yeah. Before we dive into kind of earliest memories of the Redbud and being involved on the music side, tell me a little bit more about your musical journey, and you talk about booking bands and enjoying that side of it. Have you been all over, or is it mostly focused in Oklahoma?
Well, producing music events all over the country, and in Mexico and Canada and beyond. Mostly it's corporate events, so corporations would hire me to do a concert for their group, and so we've done Toby Keith, Oak Ridge Boys, Don Henley, Doobie Brothers, and so on and so on and so on. In Oklahoma, most of my bookings have been, local events, galas, weddings, and so forth. But really all aspects of music. And now I live in Guthrie, and we just started last year doing the very first annual Guthrie's Christmas concert. The Gatlin Brothers, and they're coming back this year. And I do concerts about once a month at my place in Guthrie. So still involved in music, and still having a great time.
Yeah. For both of you, since you're both in music, what is it about music that's so special to both of you?
I feel like music can take you anywhere, right? Like it puts you in the singer songwriter's head. I don't know. I've just always been drawn to music. My dad loved the Beatles, so I grew up like listening to the Beatles and John Thorogood, and so I have a very wide range of kind of genres that I like. So
music is food for the soul. I've always been a word man. Lyrics always grab me. Of course, a great melody and lyrics together is what makes a song beautiful and wonderful. But it's just always been a part of my life, and combining that with running is very cool. A lot of people run with music, and we have music on the Redbud run.
Yeah.
So
that's what I thought for me. I don't call myself a runner. I have ran in events and races and done some longer distance stuff, but it's always music or some form of entertainment that gets me through. And I just did a race a couple of weeks ago and had a finisher playlist for my last 3 miles, which is very upbeat and heavy, and somebody in my ear screaming at me to tell me I need to run faster. But for the duration up to that, it was pretty relaxed and chill to keep me on my pace, because I get impatient and want to run fast early and then struggle right at the end. But,
exactly.
Tell me a little bit about your earliest memories of Redbud.
Wow. In 1983, I'd been playing in a band all through my 20s, and basically playing in clubs 6 nights a week and booking bands all over the place, living that proverbial fast lane, and that was all through my 20s. And early in my 30s, I came to a realization that maybe I should change some things. And so I made that decision in February of '83 that I was going to stop the craziness and stop drinking, stop smoking, and that was February. And probably in March I decided, since I was about 20 pounds over my wrestling weight or so, that maybe I should try to get in shape. So bought some running shoes and started jogging. And I was running down Grand Boulevard, and I remember I was going, east down Grand Boulevard, and going very slow, huffing and puffing, and coming the other direction was Coe London. And she stopped me. I knew Coe because her husband, Bill London, and I went to grade school together.
Okay.
And Bill's a great runner and great guy. And Coe said, "Are you going to run in my run?" And I said, "What is it?" And she said, "It's called the Redbud. It's like next week or whatever." And I was in no way ready for a run. And so I told her that no, but I'd do the next one. And so the first run was in April of '83, is that right? Mm-hmm. I missed that one, but I kept my word. I kept running, and in April of 1984, I ran in my first Redbud, and I have not stopped. I've been in every one since, even during the little break we had for what was that week? The little break I ran in Guthrie, and so it's been an amazing ride for me all these years to be a part of it.
Has it always been in the same route?
Well, the first several years, it was basically the same route, starting at the Waterford Hotel and ending at Nichols Hills Plaza. 3 years ago? This is the third year we've changed?
Yeah, I think it's the third year, yep.
There's been various changes over the years and added runs, added distances and so forth. And the team is so good at what they do that I just follow the team's maps, and so I did the 10K for probably 30 plus years, and been doing the 5K mostly here lately.
Does it really irritate you that you said no that first time?
Yeah,
Right.
it does. I should have done it, but the fact that I started the next year and haven't stopped, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because didn't it start with a 10K?
Probably.
She started off strong. It was 10K and maybe a 1 mile,
Maybe.
something like that.
That may have been what scared me away from doing it, because I hadn't even done a mile. I mean, when I saw her, I had just started, maybe that week, brand new shoes, and I was intimidated. So I just said, I will do the next one. Yeah.
Any cool memories?
Lots of cool memories. So many things happen, over the course of that time, and trying to navigate and make sure that I don't have a conflict on that Sunday hasn't always been easy. And when my daughter was born in '87, I also did the Tulsa run, and that was 15K. And I remember in October of '87, I was in Tulsa, and my wife was pregnant, and we weren't quite sure whether she should even go, because my daughter was born November 11th, so shortly thereafter. But that was a great memory, and having my daughter there at the finish line a lot, and just so many friends over the years that I would see. On my Facebook page, I have pictures, and Tom Pace runs every year, and I've known Tom for probably 30 plus years, and we have pictures at the finish, and just it's a community event, and so being part of community, seeing teams with the team on the back of their shirts and what they're running for, and just the camaraderie of the whole thing is really cool.
Yeah, it's special and also to be going for that long consistently, right? And to have raised, over $1 million and then given to a bunch of different organizations, right? You guys don't just focus on one. There's so many things, and also it sounds like the races evolved, or the event weekends evolved into so many things. It's we have a bike and we have a walk and a woof walk for dogs, which is, I'm a big fan of my 2 dogs, and any excuse to not run and walk dogs, I'll take that. So it's really cool that it's not just for 10K races, right? Guys who come out here that do this all the time, that have their watches on, they're setting their pace, and they want to go out there and they compete, and that's their thing. It's for everybody, and it's more, like I said, an event weekend versus start finish. And how did you do in your time? Kristen, what about you? What's your earliest memories of the Redbud?
I think I was not even 1 when the first Redbud was. But I want to say that I did the Redbud, would have been kind of 2011. Had to have been 2011, because I decided I was going to do the Memorial Marathon half for the first time. So I'm training, and then I found out I was pregnant with my son. And, doctor's like, oh, yeah, you're doing good. Just make sure you keep hydrated and nutrition and all the things. And so I decided to try the Redbud. So that was the first one. And you don't realize how hilly Nichols Hills really is until you are on foot and trying to run. So it was tough, and it was really cold that year. And I'm kind of a fair weather runner. I like it to be the perfect temperature.
Yeah.
And I remember it being cold, and it was hard.
Has it always been around that first weekend in April? Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's always hit and miss with weather.
Yes.
Whether it's freezing cold or right now the state's on fire, or it's freezing like it was 3 weeks ago.
For sure. Yeah.
It's not just, as someone for yourself now as a race director, you're battling everything as well as Oklahoma weather. It's not just people showing up.
Yep.
No, for me, I've been here, a little bit now, and I've always I haven't done the event, but I have been I always see it when it comes up, and great social media presence and great content around it, and there's always a huge kind of sense of community around it, right? It's never seen as, somebody won it. No, it's more about, did you participate? And there's always people happy and friends and people of all ages, and whether you're walking with your dog or you're walking with your kids or you're riding 50 miles on your bike, it's all for one reason, and that's bringing people together to raise money for the focus of that year. And from the outside, for someone who hasn't been a part of it as extensive as you guys have, it definitely is something that's on the radar and seen. And so I'm excited to see it this year and be as involved as I can. Tell me more about the history, how it's kind of evolved over the years. Sounds like it started out as a 10K, then we have a bike race or a bike, we have 10, 30 and a 50 mile bike event too. So tell me a little bit about the history, how that happens, and then why it evolves, and you add bike, and there's so many things to it, especially in its lifetime. It's gone through plenty of ups and downs, and we're here 43 years later, 43 years later.
I'm not sure when the bike started. Do you know?
I don't know. I'm going to guess it was probably in the 80s.
That early, okay.
I think so. I'm not 100% sure of that, but it may have been early 90s, but it's been going on quite a while.
I know that I've seen we have old posters and logos and all the things, so I know I've seen cyclists on there for a while.
I'd have to dig out my old T-shirts to see when they started putting the bike on there.
Yeah.
I used to live out by Frontier City, and on Hefner Road was on the bike route. So on Saturdays, of course, I run on Sunday, so I'd leave my house and have to stop for the bikers all the way out that far. So
that's one thing we want to make sure everybody realizes we have a bike event. I feel like there are so many people that come out for the run and not as many for the bike. So we're really trying to push the bike a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, we have plenty of bike shops around Oklahoma City. The sport has kind of grown, and great bike routes. You talk about maps earlier, and just the amount of bike routes that are around the city now, and it takes you off the road. It's a lot safer to cycle than it used to be.
Yeah.
And I did a short stint with a road bike and have ridden around the city, and it's quite pretty to do it. And you talk about people generally who run will also, when they get to a certain age, they start riding bikes. And so, their knees start to give in if they grew up playing soccer or real football or all those other things. And you talk about inclusivity and just being open to everybody who wants to. Do you really want to go ride 50 miles, or do you want to go walk with your family? Like, it's depends what you want to do. But no, it's exciting, and it gives plenty of people a reason to come out, not just the people attending and people participating. I'm sure you have plenty of people along the route that are cheering and having stations to stop and have a drink and share and community and hang out. What do we have to look forward to this year? Is there anything you guys are adding new that we have exciting coming up? I mean, it's going to be here before you know it.
It is. Well, like 20 days. So this year we decided to have all of our bike things on Saturday and all of our run and walk on Sunday. Used to, we would start the bike and then move over to Nichols Hills Plaza and do the 1 mile kids fun run and wolf walk. And just logistically, we were like, man, we want the cyclists to be able to participate in both if they've got kids, and vice versa. And so we decided to move it. The kids event and the wolf walk are now on Sunday morning.
Okay.
They'll start at 11:30. 11:30 with the kids, 12 with the dogs. There'll be a little bit of time in between, and then the 5K, 10K, and 2 mile in the afternoon, like normal.
Any aspirations to do the bike at all? Think about it.
I do ride sometimes, I feel like me and my husband, we rode quite a bit, and then we had kids. We rode and we ran and we did all the fun things, and then we had kids, and then we slowed down. And then he got back into, really doing Ironmans. And I've dabbled a little here and there with just the half. And then I finally got a bike, and I rode 3 years ago, I think, in Cycle 66 in Edmond. They're a great partner of ours. And that was the first road riding in a group that I've done. And I really liked it. And then I haven't done it since. I kind of hurt my back, and I've been kind of out, and I'm feeling a lot better, and I'm actually going to do the half this year.
Okay, for the 30th anniversary.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, why did you do that? This is your busiest time, and all the kids have all the things.
And a month later, you're going to go run.
And a month later, I'm going to go run. Yeah.
It'll be great.
It'll be great.
Yeah.
It's, I will not be running real fast, but I will finish.
Yeah, that's the main thing, right? Being out there, participating, finishing. And I think, you talk about Cycle 66 and kind of mentioned it being a partnership there. I'm sure you have partnerships with other people as well, and the community here, whether it's running, cycling, walking, swimming, whatever it is, they want to come together, they want to support, and they want to do events. And so interested to hear kind of how your kind of partnerships with people have evolved over the years too, and who have you lent on and who's helped out, and how that has been from an organization perspective.
Cycle 66 is probably the one that we're most involved with. Us in the memorial kind of communicate a little bit, tapping into each other's volunteers when we really need it. But Cycle 66, one of our board members, Ray Heck, he leads, he's like our bike chair, knows all of those guys and has that relationship. And we kind of, a few years ago, started manning a water stop for them, and vice versa. They do one for us. And we want to partner with anybody and everybody, just so everyone knows what we do, and we like to share what everybody else has going on.
Gary, any great stories from partners over the years, or people you've had to bend their arm to get involved?
It's always a challenge when I call a band, because this is one thing that I get to work and play. So, I do have a job that I do, and most of my job on the Redbud happens before the gun goes off, thankfully. But lots of stories. And one of the things that I'm very, very pleased to be able to say is that out of all the years and I can't remember what year I started doing the music, but it's been over 30. And we have never had a band not play, no matter what the weather. One year at the bike, we had the band playing below the garage because it was totally downpour, but they played. And on the run, we have locations, and depending on the weather forecast, I will go and talk to my backup spot. A lot of times it's somebody's house that has an awning, a drive where it's covered, and we'll make arrangements that if it's raining, that the band will move there. Otherwise, they're out in a park or where people are running by. So it's been very interesting to navigate weather and circumstances. But,
and to that point of having music before, during, after, there is events after too, right? There's things for people to do after. So what do people get to do after, and how can they stay and enjoy themselves?
Yeah, that I want to say they started the bash in 2015. It used to just be on Sunday after the run, just one big bash, and they wanted, the cyclists to come back, and life, that never really happens. And so now we're actually doing one. We have a bike bash and a run bash. Kind of the same plan. We've just got a bunch of different vendors that'll come in. We have bands. You bring out for the kids event, what's his name? John the
Franklin.
Yes, the orange guy that's on the stilts.
Orange Rex.
Orange Rex. He might be one of my favorites.
And he will be there this year.
Nice. We've got food trucks that come out. Coop Ale Works is our beer vendor. So yeah, just a lot of fun for everybody.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit more about the charity arm to the event weekend. I understand you've had different charities every year that you support, and so I'd love to hear you dive into why you give to charity to start. Obviously, we all know why because it's the right thing to do, but initially where that comes from, and then how do you choose a charity to start with every year? Whenever
Coe decided that she wanted to start this, she reached out to St. Anthony's, and who has been our biggest partner from the get-go. Without them, we'd have to find a whole new partner in that aspect, but just them being one of our presenting sponsors and doing the medical. I'm not sure how many years in they decided, but Coe wanted to give back to the community. They didn't just want to take everybody's money; they wanted to give back. I'm not quite sure what they did in the beginning, but now, so we have a 30-ish member board of directors, and then each of them will do certain committees, and we have a beneficiary committee, and just send out an application to all the nonprofits, which I know we don't have a list of everybody, but we try, and then people come and go, and we have to figure out new contacts. But kind of a month-long application process. We gather the applications, and then that committee will sit down with all of them and really look at the financials and kind of their what partners they have and their reach and how many volunteers that they may be able to help us, secure. And then that committee will kind of go and choose 3 or 4, depending on how many applications we have. And then they'll take it to the full board and kind of present those 4. And then the full board will choose for the following year.
Who is the beneficiaries this year?
CSU Youth Services.
Okay.
Yeah, they've been great. And the beneficiary, they have to do quite a bit. Kind of their main things is providing 150 volunteers for the weekend and providing kind of activities. With the kids event, that used to be their thing. With it being on Saturday, they would be providing kind of different activities and things. This year, with us moving it to Sunday, there's not as much space for all of those activities, but we do have kid-specific things happening, and then just kind of being on certain committees and media things. That's kind of their core responsibilities.
What's your favorite part about the weekend?
My favorite part, man, it's amazing to see all the different ability levels coming together, right? The diversity of it all. And I usually will get up with the MC and kind of stand and just see all the people. And I don't know why, but that gives me chills. All of these people coming out to do an event. That's probably one of my favorite times. But there's something about whenever because you got to set up things in advance. But whenever I come driving in on Sunday morning and the sun's just now starting to come up and I see sponsor banners and the picket fence signs that we have, just all the things. And I'm like, man, this is really, like, this is community. Just everybody coming together for, greater good.
Gary, what about you?
Wow. I'd like to give a rundown of the music, and because all that to me ties in together. And with Kristen talking about how it all comes together when she's standing there watching, that's showbiz. I mean, that's organizing an event, and she does a great job. And I have the same feeling when I do a show. If I've done all the stage work and getting everything ready, getting the group from the airport and all the stuff that you got to do to get it ready. And then when the people are sitting there and the music starts, you look out there and you go, wow, we did this. And it's just a great feeling. It really is. So musically, when you tie the music into an event, and I truly believe that we are the only event within the Southwest that has as much music as we do for the Redbud. And starting on Saturday with the bikes, over the years we've had various bands and people that have performed. Frank Berry and his John the Franklin has been the last several years, and he'll be there again this year at 8 a.m. Saturday morning for the bikes, and plays till it's over, till their bash is done. On Sunday, starting probably 11-ish, we will have a new group specifically because of the kids, and it's the Sugar-Free All-Stars. And if you haven't heard them, you can go online, just Google Sugar-Free All-Stars, and there's a song called Monster Truck. Pull that one up. Listen to these guys. So they will be on stage 11-ish till 1-ish, depending on setups and so forth. So that's what kicks it off. And then we talked about Orange Rex. He's on stilts. He's, I don't know how tall, 7-8 foot. And the kids love him. He gets kids organized, gets them ready to start, and everybody loves Rex. And then we will have, Clarissa Sharp will be there, the face painter, so she'll be there in the plaza. And that's before the run starts. Okay, so when the gun goes off and the runners start, along the running route, see if I can get this. Okay, John Franklin will be back on Sunday, and he's on Sherwood Lane, same spot he's been for many years. And the neighbors who donate their driveways and their electricity and so forth are very gracious, and they love having them back. Sometimes they have parties with the band. And so that's on Sherwood. And of course, I would like to have a band every mile, but the board is very, very cautious of getting enough money to the charities, and so are we. So the bands play at a very reduced rate, very reduced. And so the second band that you come if you're running 10K is by Crush the King, and that is Mariachi Lopez, and they've been the same group for several years now. And as you run from there, you get to the park that's like Elmhurst and Nichols, that park right there, and the band is called Past Forward. The mariachi group is self-explanatory. It's a mariachi group. When you get to that park with Past Forward, they are a rock and roll band, born to be wild, get you running, get your motor running, and that's what we want. We want the bands to inspire the runners to keep going. So from there, you go down Nichols Road and you wind your way around and get to Grand Boulevard Park area, and there's a group called the B-Side All-Stars. They are mostly reggae, just a real good feel. They've been at that location for several years now. And as you continue on, you wind around, and there's a park at Bedford, and where Avondale and Trenton Road connect there. And that band is called What She Said. And they are rock and roll, and they will get you down that final hump, before you get to the finish line. And then when the runners get to the finish line, Sugar Free All Stars will be finished, and then we will have Borderline featuring Kristen Stair, and they will be doing the bash until the bash is over, and it's loads of fun. But the music just kind of winds its way through the whole event, and I've strategically picked the locations. Running the 10K for all those years, I would be running, and I would say, we really need a band right here. And so the next day, I would go to knock on doors and say, excuse me, can we have a band in your driveway? And that's what I've done. And so we try to have something strategically placed and along the route where people will be able to stay pumped up and enthused.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm excited to experience it. None of this happens, obviously, without participants, without volunteers, and the numbers around those. To give people listening context, what are the numbers like that we're talking about? How many people are in this event? How many volunteers you guys got? I mean, I know it's a huge event, but put it in context with numbers.
Yeah, it has fluctuated over the years, but we can see anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 participants over the course of the weekend. Like I said, a lot more runners than cyclists. And then volunteer-wise, 500 plus to really feel, like it's well-manned. I think the toughest part is getting course marshals that are out on the route. There's just there's so many locations. If we didn't have Nichols Hills police officers and kind of surrounding areas out there, it would be pretty tough. Luckily, the residents, for the most part, love us because we shut down the streets for
2 days.
Yeah. For sure, for a couple of hours, on Sunday. Now it's going to be a little bit more with moving the kids. But I feel like we have great community support. Just like they're willing to have a band, in their driveway. We do a block decorating contest, and so several streets will get together and decorate. And so it's a fun atmosphere for the runners out on the course.
And there's still time for people to enter and get involved, and even if it's volunteers or actually participate.
Yep. If they go to redbud.org, they can register to participate up until about 30 minutes prior to each event. We would love for them to register before then, but I understand a lot of people like to look at the weather and see what's happening before they venture out in the Oklahoma elements.
They can still donate. They can donate their race, their event fee, and get into it and not worry about it.
Absolutely.
And I would like to say to that first-time runner, don't wait till next year. Do this year. You can register that day if you have to. They'll take you. And it's a safe place to run. I mean, as Kristen was saying, the Nichols Hills Police and the surrounding police departments that all come in, it's amazing how safe you feel. And anybody that stumbles and falls, there's always help right there. There's water at the water stations. The neighbors have signs out. They're waving at you as you go by, cheering you on. It's a great community event.
Yep. Sometimes the homeowners will have their own kind of water stop, or not water, but
it might be water.
It might be water.
It's a clear liquid of something,
right?
Yeah, those are the surprises along the route.
Yes.
Yes. And so it's April 5th and 6th.
April 5th and 6th.
Over the weekend, you can sign up as late as 30 minutes before. Please sign up now when you're listening to this. Link will be in the description. go to the redbud.org website and also check out the social medias. And we will see you on race weekend. Thank you so much for jumping on the show. Thanks so much for sharing and for everything that you do. Excited to experience the music along the route. Thanks to Gary and then Kristen for running the whole show and being the director. So excited to dive into it. And
we'll say I can't do it alone.
Exactly.
Right?
You've got a great
I've got
team.
a great team of volunteer board members, not even paid, but volunteer. So
brilliant.
Got a great group.
Again, thanks so much for your time. It's been incredible just to dive in and hear the history of this event, and it will be long-standing, and I look forward to maybe being here one day when it's in its 100th event. But yeah, thanks for thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you next episode. Cheers. What a great episode and great chat with Kristen and Gary. Now we're going to hear from the founder of the Redbud. Had a Zoom call with her. She currently lives in Boulder, Colorado. So had a great Zoom call with Coe London. And so now you're going to hear a little chat with the founder of the Redbud, Coe London.
I'm going to go ahead and start the recording. Y'all should have seen it or whatever. That way we're recording and
I'm going to go grab my phone and make sure my dogs are good, and then I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Come on, you two. Hopefully they be quiet.
How are you, Sam?
I'm good. I'm jumping through some hoops with a proposal right at the moment. It's for the government of another state, and it's a lot.
Fun.
So.
Fun.
And then school's starting back up. So after spring break, everybody's back in the office today, so to speak.
Yes. My daughter broke her arm this weekend.
Oh,
so
no.
Oh, no way.
Been fun. She's 8. So, learning to do life with one arm for like 9 weeks is becoming a challenge. No, she's getting better. It was like the end of the world because she's in my cousin's wedding coming up in a few weeks. And so she was down about that and having to have a cast, walking down the aisle, being the flower girl. And I'm exhausted. Like it was brutal. Like I don't know how I held it together so well because I don't really do blood and deformed, limbs. It was like this, her arm. Oh. So
brutal.
Yeah, it was.
How did she do it? Did she like fall off a bike or something?
Back handspring, which she's done a million times. We were at my niece's birthday party, and it was like a cheer gym. So yeah, fluke thing.
Wow.
Hi, Coe.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
How's it going?
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Let me kind of give you a lay of the land, Coe, just so that you know Kristen. And then I'm Sam with Sims Group, and I get to help Redbud out. And I'm also a former board member of Redbud.
Oh, good.
Participant and all the things.
Everything.
Yeah,
Great.
all the things. And so I get to help out with helping Redbud communicate. As part of that, we reached out to This is Oklahoma podcast, which is run by Mike. And Mike has put together a really, really good following of folks and talks about Oklahoma in a really cool way. We are currently recording so that Mike can use this file audio-wise as well as the video. And essentially what's going to happen is once we do get started, I'll mute my mic and turn off my camera. And then Kristen, if you'll do the same while he's interviewing Coe, and then if he asks questions directly of you, Kristen, then you can pop back in. But I'm just here to make sure that the Zoom goes well. And then once everything's said and done, I will provide Mike with the recorded file so he can do what he needs to with it. And he cuts it up a whole bunch of different ways. And The reason why there's also video is because he also cuts it up and uses it for social media, and he'll use some of the video to go along with it to drive a little more traffic to his podcast. Um, so, Mike, if you want to tell us a little bit about you, so that we have a little cover
Yeah, sure.
you.
Thanks, Sam. Hi, Coe. Nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you, Mike.
Hi, I am originally from Wales in the UK. It's why I sound funny. But I came here to play golf in college in 2011. Ended up staying in Oklahoma City. Fell in love with it. My day job is selling houses. I'm a real estate agent, but I started a podcast 7 years ago now. Just crossed 700 episodes and interviewing people about who they are, what they do, and why they do it. And so, uh, have a huge variety of people on from Oklahoma, not from Oklahoma. If you've driven through here once, you're kind of eligible to be on the podcast because I'm not from here. So, as a host, but yeah, just a huge passion for sharing people's stories, and thrilled to have you on the podcast as the founder and to hear the founding story of the Redbud.
Oh, thank you. Thrilled to be here. So,
Yeah, it shouldn't take too long. I just have a kind of a few questions about, just kind of your backstory and, kind of the founding story, why it started, and then just kind of, what are we, 43 years today? Is that for this year or 42? 42nd year? Okay. And
it's a
so,
year because of COVID. Am I right?
yeah,
Yeah.
that would
Okay.
sounds about right.
Because
Being that
82
it was in March, right?
was
But
the first year. Yeah.
yeah. Cool. Is there anything that you would like me to ask you pertaining to the story, and is there anything you don't want me to ask you?
No, I can't.
Okay.
I'm here to just kind of be the history book. So,
All right. Cool. Well, I see Sam and Kristen muted their got the cameras off. We're good. Okay. Well, um, gives me great pleasure to introduce Coe London to the podcast. Coe is the founder of the Redbud Classic, which is 42nd year. This is going to tack on to our recent podcast towards the end that we did with Kristen and Gary, talking about current situations on the ground in Oklahoma as the Redbud Classic comes up very soon. But it gives me great pleasure to introduce Coe, who's the founder. And Coe, thanks for joining us today. You're currently in Denver, I understand, and it sounds like a lifelong lover of running.
right. I'm in Boulder, Colorado, which is
Okay,
also
Colorado.
a
Yeah.
running community. So we have Olympic athletes here, lots of them.
God, that just makes me jealous, right? Not only getting to see amazing athletes run around, but also that you're in Boulder and it's beautiful out there.
It is.
So the Redbud, 42nd year, take me back to that moment in your life where you're thinking, you know what? We should have a race. And why not? And we should call it Redbud. How does that start? Why does it start? And why do you decide to start it where you're at in Oklahoma City?
Right. Well, I should say that my both my husband and I founded this race. I was more the front person and raised the money, but he and his group were, did the finish line, did all the technical aspects about the race. And actually, the idea came when we were here in Boulder in 1981. We ran the Boulder Boulder, the two of us. I'd never run a race. I wasn't really a runner. He was, but it was a spectacular experience. Probably about 20,000 were in the race, but another 60,000 were out there cheering you on. So, and you finished in the football stadium, and the football stadium was packed. And it's still true today, except now they have 60,000 runners. So, it's just a great community event. And so we got home sitting on the back porch with all our really small children. And we said, this is what Oklahoma City needs, more of a community-based event as opposed to what had happened so far. It was just the hardcore running community. And they were concerned about running times and, how fast can you go? Whereas I I wanted to use the event to recruit people into fitness, really. So uh, that's how it all started. And I was good friends with Mary Freitas, who was We walked every morning, and she was head of the Oklahoma Arts Institute and looking for a charity event. So the two of us kind of went after it. And I have to say, Nichols Hills was not exactly thrilled about the idea, some of the residents and the mayor in particular. So uh, that winter, I did a lot of petitions, probably 2 or 3 city council meetings I had 150 friends come, so Mayor John Mean never quite said yes, but he didn't say no, and we did it, and he loved it. So anyway, so that was the beginning.
Uh, so you run you're in the Boulder, and you come back. Oklahoma City doesn't have a community type event like this. Like you said, there's a lot of hardcore runners out there focused on their times, and you guys decided to, and what you just said, recruit people. Use this event as a recruit people to fitness, which is a great way to look at it.
Right. And it's how you market the event, of course, but it's also the kinds of races you put in. Like we had a 2-mile event that had a walk in it. We had Governor Bellman and his wife, who carried her little white purse, walking the 2 miles in the Redbud Classic. And in terms of the name, I have to say my husband came up with that. Peachtree Classic in Atlanta. So why not name it after the Oklahoma tree? So
Yeah, and there's a cycling element as well.
yes, we added that 4 or 5 years into the race, and um, St. Anthony Hospital was a huge sponsor. We had a lot of huge support, really, but it got into this whole fitness thing, and really the Redbud became a week-long event. We had speakers from all over the country. George Sheehan came. He came with a huge film crew that actually filmed him for a documentary at the Redbud Classic. His talks, well, actually, he gave about 5 talks. I carted him around to schools, and of course, there was an evening event, but just many people as we could touch. So,
And as much entertainment as possible, it sounds like. And Gary touched on this earlier too. He said, there's got to be a sense of entertainment and music, and because it keeps you running and keeps you entertained, but also, for spectators as well, right? They got to, and you mentioned the key Boulder experience of the things always happening, is always energy and entertainment going on. And that's something that you guys have carried into this race.
yeah, I have to say also that Charles Givens was a huge supporter, and oh, he just loved the whole idea of the race. And he was the one who came up with pasta on the pond, and actually the first couple of years provided free box lunch dinners, box dinners that were just fabulous. And he wanted to put mermaids in the pond, in the Waterford pond. I mean, all kinds of things. And I'm sure, I don't know, maybe you all haven't heard, but the second year, did you ever hear about they were building the Waterford, and Charlie had the pace car come around to the front of the race via a crane. And they had rehearsed it. However, the pace car, that crane ran into another crane. So this pace car was actually swinging in the air. And then pace car lands and pops out of the trunk all these girls with not much on. So, it was all kinds of music, and yeah, right, entertainment deluxe.
Yeah. What are the other highlights that happen for you over the 4 decades that this event has happened?
Um, well, I think the biggest highlight for me, and people often ask me, was how it took off, and the huge growth. I mean, it was just 1,100 that first year, and then 2,500 the next year. And by the time Bill and I retired, after 8 years, it was about up to 10,000 participants for all the events. So that was really a huge highlight. And also just all the networking, all the people who felt it was their race, and just bringing the city together, the firemen. I mean, you cannot have a race without all these people. So,
Mhm.
yeah, it was fun.
You mentioned it came at a time where you had a lot of littles around for yourself, your young kids and stuff. What's it been like seeing them kind of evolve into as this race has evolved, you know, grown as this event and race has grown as well?
Um, Highly influenced their lives, I think. They are all runners, all very fit. Um, they have tremendous memories about. I mean, when they were so little, they were just spraying the hose on everybody. But and that was one of the impetus for the kids run on Saturday at noon. So, and they remember doing that. My grandchildren did that. So it was just the fitness thing. The Redbud was just a way of life for us. We never, the office initially was in my husband's office, and also this race took place. I mean, we opened registration at spring break. We didn't have a spring break for 8 years. I mean, we were in the Redbud office, and those kids were in there helping. And one year the people who were supposed to pick up all the garbage didn't show up, so we load my kids, all the neighborhood kids, in the truck, and here we go. And then I just bought pizza for everybody. It was a blast. So
Yeah. You talk about, you know, this being for the whole community and the community really buying in, and clearly they have because this event has, you know, withstanded so much time and, you know, gone through a lot of 4 decades, right? 42nd year, and it, like you mentioned, it doesn't happen, you know, without people getting behind it. And you mentioned a key phrase saying that people felt like it was their race and they take ownership in it from day one for you and Bill, it sounds like this wasn't like, hey, we are doing this race, me, I. This was the community needs this. This, you know, there's not a feeling of we own this, which is, you know, obviously my question is, I assume it wasn't hard. It wasn't hard for you to step away after 8 years, knowing that there's a community there that's going to keep this thing going.
right, right. I think what's hard the first year or two, when this is true for anybody that starts something, uh, if they come up on a big question, or a sponsor won't come in, or whatever the issue is, they immediately go to you. So there was, for a couple of years, there was a little transition, I should say, passing the
Yeah.
baton, as they say. So um, yeah, but I tried to, gosh, I can remember we had a committee of 150 people. We had 1,500 volunteers. I mean, I mean,
Mhm.
it was fun. So, I'm a delegator, and I want everybody to feel. Richard Mask, who was head of the police department, I think he was the longest standing volunteer. He probably just retired 3 or 4 years ago, and he did it every single year. So, so,
Yeah.
um, so that really says a lot about it.
What do you miss?
Um, I miss that sense. I loved doing it, but it was a volunteer job. It was um, 80 hours a week for 6 months of the year. So, so you're ready to hand it over, but you miss those people. The firemen and the policemen got to be good friends. I mean, I knew everybody. And so you miss all those people. Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned charity as well. That was clearly an important part from very early on and raised close to $1 million, just over $1 million in its inception. It's It's pretty epic going for you and Bill's idea starting out.
Isn't that great? And that is the one difference with the Boulder Boulder. The Boulder Boulder is not a charity, and the two directors are still directing it. They're a little bit old. So we ran it the third year, I think, of the Boulder. They make a lot of money. So those two, and they're still there. The two, Frank Shorter and I can't think of the other guy's name, but
Yeah.
but it's big money. So but they have people skydiving into the football stadium too. So,
Yeah. Do you have any plans to come back and finish
for
the
the
race?
Redbud, for the
Yeah.
Redbud, you never know. Not this year, but
Yeah.
maybe so. And I go to the Boulder Bowl. I don't run anymore, but I do go out for the Boulder Boulder every year and
Okay.
watch various friends at different points. And then the stadium is just about less than a mile from my house. So
Hmm.
I walk up to the stadium and see all the elite runners finish. They finish them at they go in waves because you can't put
Yeah, yeah.
people out there. So the elite runners come in at the very end. I mean,
Mhm.
it is spectacular. It is really special. So
Yeah. Since being out in Boulder, what do you miss about Oklahoma?
friends. So I'm a mountain girl. I mean, my spirit and soul is just out here. So, but I do miss my good friends. I really
Yeah.
do. And also in Oklahoma City, I mean, it's the reason you're sitting in Oklahoma City. There's so many possibilities.
Hmm.
There's so much you can do, and that's exciting. So,
Yeah. You mentioned earlier as well, not, this not being a serious race, but if you are a runner, do you remember one of your fastest times?
well,
Was there a time where you really thought, I'm gonna give this everything I have?
me personally, you mean
Yeah.
running the Redbud or running?
Yeah.
The second year I ran a pretty good race. I just can, isn't that funny? I can't remember times, but it was a good time. It was also a very cool rainy day.
Good weather for it.
Yeah, it was. So,
Yeah.
but I think that second year was the first and last time I ran the race. There's
Mm.
just too much going on, too much chaos. There's always some
Hmm.
emergency at the very end. So we had
Yeah.
problems with cars floating in and out of the race. I don't know. You just there there were a lot of issues. So
Yeah. Finishing up, last question for you. What advice would you give somebody who may be listening that might feel inspired to start their own race in their own town?
in their own town,
Yeah.
get a group of your friends together, um, host parties, and just make it infectious and and pick people out for certain jobs that they'd be good at. This person can do the marketing, this person can take over all the technical stuff, and let them form their little committees. So, but I mean, you mentioned it before, the entertainment and the socializing was a huge part. And I have to tell you, when Joan Benoit came, she ran in our race. And of course, Bill and all his running buddies just loved working out with her, running with her. But, and she came to our house for dinner. I threw a dinner, and, everybody was bouncing on the trampoline, and she was just bowled over. She said, "Can I come back next year and bring my kids too?" So,
Yeah.
so that's the kind of atmosphere you want to generate. So,
Yeah. Brilliant.
Coe, thank you. I'm
oh,
I was fascinated with everything that you shared. And in fact,
oh,
Kristen and I were texting back and forth, and I texted friends with three hearts, and I was like, that is Oklahoma through and through.
Yeah.
it certainly is. And that first year Waterford wasn't built yet. They had just torn down that orphanage. So it was just dirt. That's all that was out there at 63rd and Penn. Yeah, and the first race was on May 1st, way too hot. It was like 80 degrees, way too hot. And so we learned a lot. We learned a lot about medical issues, and that's when the race moved to the beginning of April, things like that. So, I used to get letters. I don't know if you do, but I used to get letters from people how the Redbud inspired them to quit smoking. Redbud inspired them to get on so they did training. They came to George Sheehan, who said, if you run, you're not going to smoke, you're going to eat right, you're going to sleep right. And people who had lost weight. I mean, I got at least 4 or 5 of them, I think, every year, where you've really made a lifestyle change for someone, which is, made it all worth it.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, Coe. Appreciate your time.
So much, Mike. Good luck.
Thank you, Coe, and the Redbud team for jumping on the podcast, sharing 42 years of Redbud Classic stories. We hope to see you out there on the route for the event. Catch you next episode. Cheers. Hope you guys enjoyed that great episode. Thank you so much for listening. As always, huge shout out to our sponsors, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, sharing Oklahoma story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com and follow them on Instagram for daily updates at oklahomahof. Our other sponsor, the Chickasaw Nation, amazing sponsor. They do amazing things for the state, and they're always sponsoring something in Oklahoma. They're a huge supporter of Oklahoma, and without their support, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. And our third sponsor is Diffie Ford Lincoln down in El Reno. Now, this one makes me so happy because these guys are great friends of mine, play a lot of golf together. I've bought my cars from them, do most of my oil changes down there, have a cup of coffee, hang out down in El Reno. It's a good spot to go. And not only are they great friends, but they provide a great service. So for over 60 years, third generation family owned Oklahoma business down in El Reno. They're also in Bethany as well. So people in the Bethany area know the Diffies really well. But if you're looking for anything new, used, Ford, Lincoln, or whatever, I'm sure they could find anything you want. Check them out, diffieford.net, and then on Instagram at diffiefordlincoln. This episode is brought to you by the Doghouse OKC. Recently, I have been in need of some doggy daycare for my 2 pups, and the Doghouse have come in clutch. The team over there are incredible. They've taken care of my 2 golden doodles, and so it's been an honor to partner with them on the podcast and share the love. And the one thing that I do with the sponsors that I have is stuff that I use and recommend, like the Diffies with my car, Hall of Fame. They're awesome. Chickasaw Nation, huge supporter of Oklahoma. And adding to that is the Doghouse. And so if you're in need of doggy daycare in the day or boarding overnight, they do grooming and other cool things too. But I've had a fantastic experience, and it's an honor and a privilege to share this with you too. So go to thedogHouseOKC.com and follow them on Instagram at thedogHouseOKC. And hopefully our pups will run into each other. Turn your dream home into a reality with Home Creations, a family-owned and operated builder with over 40 years of trusted experience right here in Oklahoma. Call Holly at 405-364-9999 to schedule a showing or visit our website for more details. Home Creations, building homes, shaping futures, strengthening communities.
Thank you for listening. We are inspired by those around us and hope that you are too. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review so we can keep telling your stories. For more great Oklahoma content, follow This Is Oklahoma on Facebook and Instagram.